Welcome to Behind the Mask in Conversation with. Behind the Mask is a neurodivergent focused podcast that aims to offer support, knowledge, understanding, and most importantly, exposure to the neurodivergent community. If you are here, firstly, I hope you enjoy the episode. And lastly, if you are enjoying it, please like, follow, share, and subscribe because your support with this podcast can really help us push the message out. Keep being amazing all, and thank you. Right, look at you with your you've done your hair and everything. Look at you.
I know. I'll put my mask on.
This is it. Well, we'll strip it back. Don't you worry. Just give me 60 minutes of your time. We'll have you broken.
I love it.
How are you anyway, mate? You good?
All good. All good, you?
Yeah, man. Sound.
We tried to do it the other week, didn't we? And yeah, naturally, everything goes out the window. So.
And it's one of them. That's why when you messaged earlier, like the routine autistic side of me was like, that's not in the plan. And then the ADHD was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Woo!
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm like constantly. It's either like now or never.
No, but I'm glad. Like I say, I've done my hair for you. I hope you appreciate the effort.
Oh no, I can see. Good VO5.
This is it. Vosine, mate.
Love it.
Okay, so for anyone that's just joined or anyone that hasn't been here before, this is an episode in series 1 of an online neurodivergent podcast that I've been doing called Behind the Mask in Conversation with. The whole idea of it came from me feeling, after getting diagnosed and seeing the reaction over the past 12 months to people, to content and videos and the support networks that have been built, I just found myself feeling that there is a lot of creators on here with individual experiences that people may relate to more than myself, because everybody has similar crossovers, but everybody's journey is different. Me and Dan got rattling.
I'll be whoever you want me to be.
It's fine. We'll go with it. Probably about a month ago, we first started chatting, maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah. Something had happened, wasn't it? I can't remember what it was.
I
can't remember. Did I just watch something?
I think you commented on one of my videos.
I must have done. That sounds like something I would do.
And then you was like, oh my God, this seems like me. And I was just like, are you riddled? You was like, absolutely. And I was like, welcome.
And there's no antibiotics for this.
This is it. So yeah, structure of the podcast is the first section will be conversation between myself and Dan. We've got some kind of loose questions and structure.
Hey, Dan.
But as with two ADHDs, it could go anywhere, so strap in, you're in for a ride. But generally the whole idea is absolutely just to share experiences and get to know this man right here or there, depending which side you're on. You're there with me. I'm going to go like that. Yeah, so welcome. Thanks for agreeing to doing the pod.
Happy days.
Very much appreciate it. So for anybody that doesn't know you, introduce yourself. Who is Dan?
Oh my, how long you got?
Seatbelt on.
Not really that major. So I got diagnosed at 30. Was it 29? He was 29 or 30, one of them. That's going to bug me. I'm going to have to find out. But yeah, never really had any sort of signs of ADHD growing up. Never had nothing. School-wise, didn't really struggle with anything. Well, I say not really struggle with anything, but without going too far into it. But I would always go off and do really weird things. So I'd go off and do like a really weird course I never wanted to do. I'd join a group that nobody wanted to do. Like I was always really, really impulsive with anything. So I always thought I probably had it, but it was just a lot. In the end, it was a bit like, everyone was like, oh no, you're suffering with anxiety, you've got depression, blah, 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 blah. No, I haven't. I'm just a nutcase. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
just an absolute Fruit Loop.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day of the week. But yeah, so then went with that right to choose thing. I think it was about 3 years ago. I'd done a big campaign and it was with like Psychiatry UK and stuff, and it just went really mad. And I was like, oh, do you know what? Actually, the more I look at it, I've probably got ADHD. Just assumed. GP wasn't really much help. Didn't didn't really know anything about it and just referred me, and that was about it really. But yeah, but it never really gave me massive struggles. Well, maybe we'll find out later.
And I think it's like it's interesting that you went. I never really had symptoms or signs of it,
Yeah.
and then reeled off a load of things that could sit with it, but actually they don't sit within the conventional things that people have. I mean, we're 5 years different. We're 30, 31 at the minute.
32 last week.
32, yeah, so 3 years
Still in it.
difference. Like, unless when I was younger, unless you were a kid who was smashing things up or in the unit being
It's naughty
naughty all
kids.
the time, yeah, and that was the narrative that was kind of put forward. And it was for me. It wasn't until I started looking into it and realizing that there's so much more to it than what we believe. And I worked in education. I've worked in education for 18 years, and I didn't know. So I'm a bit like more for me. I work in this sector.
Yeah.
But how did it come about then? So what led to you getting diagnosed with ADHD? What did that look like leading up to it?
I think probably more stuff looking on social media, more looking at different people. I mean, like around that time, I think loads of more celebs were coming out, like your Sam Thompsons, things like that, saying like, I think I've got this, I think I've got that. And then it was just sort of looking at it and being like, do you know what? That actually puts me down to a T, because it's not very black and white, because it's not very like, I don't know. It's different, isn't it? If you've got a cut arm or something, you've got to get your physical. You can see it, and there's only one symptom, and that's it. But with ADHD, it was such a broad thing. It was like, okay, it's like 20 symptoms on this list. I match up with like 14 of them. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like it was a box that I could fit into that isn't a box to fit into. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, and
It was just googling stuff and going. And the more you talk to people, it was just a bit like, okay, yeah, all right, maybe there's something to this ADHD thing.
and had you mentioned earlier about the depression and anxiety and stuff?
Yeah.
Had that narrative been something that you'd kind of had from GPs for a long time? Was it a
Yeah.
particular so common theme?
I mean, yeah, because even talking to like friends, family, whatever, I mean, people just don't understand it. It's as easy as that. But to be fair, even we probably don't, not fully. But the more you talk to people, I think sometimes everyone's very quick, not quick to, but it's a very easy thing just to say, right, that's anxiety, right, that's your depression. That is just literally what it is. But it's not. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
explain, but it was literally just, here you go. Well, you sound a little bit depressed to me, so here you go. Here's some Prozac. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, so take the Prozac, doesn't do anything, doesn't even change a thing. So it's like, right, okay, so that's not. It's like if you've got a headache, you take paracetamol. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to go and take some weird antibiotic because it's not going to work. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
And I think loads of people had that as well. I had a similar journey for me where it was I was on medication for 7 years, which I'd say after
this like
four
anxiety, depression
months.
wise, was it?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So anxiety, depression, OCD came in a bit later on. I know we're going to touch on that because
yeah,
that's something similar with you. And like when I look at it now, I never really got asked any kind of probing questions by the GP. It was just you tick this box, but you've got depression, you've got
yeah,
this, and like GPs will go, they are not qualified to diagnose conditions, but
yeah.
to me, depression and anxiety are diagnosable conditions. So where does it differ, and why are
It's very
they?
black and white, isn't it, with depression? Because you
Mm,
know, you just know what it is, or you know what it. The weird thing is with ADHD, you don't really know, but you do know. If that makes sense. But yeah, so it's very
yeah.
sort of like up and down. It's not like, because literally they give you a checklist, don't they, of like whenever you go for anxiety, depression, or you say you got trouble sleeping or whatever it is, and you'll go on this
Mhm.
checklist and it'd be like, right, okay, you've hit these 4 markers. That means you're depressed. Well done.
Yeah.
Here's some pills. And it's like, but wait, hang on, look, it's a bit more of a story to that. It's not like, it's the difference between like maths and English, isn't it? Maths is like 2 + 2 is 4, but then with your whole English sort of literature side of it, there's a story behind it. Do you know what I mean? It's not. There's a lot
Mm.
more. So
And it is,
interesting.
and I think like so many people in the comments here are saying like similar story, similar story, similar story. They got diagnosed with things beforehand, but now like you look at it and you go, all of these things were caused by inability to deal with circumstance and undiagnosed ADHD to understand
Yeah.
why I wasn't feeling or how I was experiencing things in quite extreme ways, why my behavior was so inconsistent, mood
Yeah.
high or mood low, no stable. All those things are like caused as not being diagnosed, I found as well. You mentioned
Yeah.
earlier that there weren't really any signs at school and things like that, and then reeled some off. What were you like at school? Like, were you the popular kid? Were you
Nice
the
boy.
the SWAT? Like where did you fit? What was your lane at school?
I don't know if I really did, to be fair. I would always, like I said, I'd always join groups that no one else would, and I'd do like really weird things, and I'd learn to play like a saxophone for like absolutely no reason. Just weird things. If there was some new club going on or something new, exciting that was going on, I remember going to a choir once just because like it was the latest thing going, just to go and do because no one else wanted to do it. So I always had my sort of circle of friends. I had a big circle of friends, and it would always be sort of like one day I'll be off with someone, one day I'll be off with someone else, and it was quite a big group, but like a broken group, if that makes sense. So it'd
Yeah,
always have those little bits of like, I don't know, that's the guy I need for advice. I'll go over and chat to him. If I feel sad, I'll chat to him. If do you know what I mean? So it was always I was always fluttering around. I was always sort of never in one place. It was never like I could just sit here in a classroom, do my work, and that was it, and I'm great. It wasn't like that. It would be like I want to go do that thing that guy's doing over in that room over there because that looks like a cool class. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do it. So yeah, it was just
just
like that, right? Up and
impulsive and
down.
inquisitive.
Yeah, but like to a massive level, like massive. So it'd be everything. I think teachers probably hated me because every time they would try and tell you something or do something, everything would be like the classic little kid saying why. Do you know what I mean? So it was a bit, but just to get understanding of everything. For some reason, I got to overanalyze and understand everything, just
Yeah.
everything, because I just do. I don't know why, but either it helps or it's. I think I'm helping a
No,
little bit. I don't know. I don't know.
I think, like, for me, like, I resonate with that so much myself, because when I was at school, like, when I look back, like, so many of my reports and all stuff came about, didn't respect authority, questioned authority all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
didn't accept no, and all that stuff. And when I look back at it, like, why was a question that I asked loads. And the reason I asked it is because I wanted to understand the decision, not because I
yeah,
was trying to question it, not because I was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
challenging it,
yeah,
but because I was a child, why was seen as because I said so. You've
yeah,
got to listen to me. And I have pushed back against authority. I always have. I don't mind people giving me direction and support, but if somebody's demanding something based on position, I get
yeah.
real like oppositional defiance. Like
So I had this really big with the Navy because
mm,
obviously it was all a rank system, it was all like a structure system, and it was just hard to understand because it'd be like, all right, okay, so you're my warrant officer, why? What have you done to for
mm,
one get to that level? I want to know why, but why have I got to listen to you? I'm not saying I won't listen to you. I'm not saying I'll do everything you say, but can you just tell me why?
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like
make,
it's weird.
make
Like
me
you do have the
understand why you're in
respect.
that position, because if you're in that position, I could probably learn from you.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's a reason for it, and
And then other
it,
people would take that in a different way to be like, well, you're just completely disrespecting me. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm actually interested in what
mm.
you're doing. I'm taking interest in your life. But it comes across the wrong way sometimes.
And I think sometimes that can be a clash that I've now realised, and it's not necessarily a fault thing, but I think neurodiverse people are a lot more inquisitive to understand,
Yeah, yeah,
whereas neurotypical people can be quite flippant and move on, flippant and move on. Whereas we can be scatty, but if something doesn't get answered, our thought can just get fixated on it. But then
yeah,
we get another thought on top, another thought, and before we know it, we've got all these things just in our head. So we know the importance of the why. We know why
yeah.
we need to understand, because it's just going to sit rent free in our head.
Yeah, literally. It's not that I wouldn't respect anyone for anything, and that like with the Navy, just the way it is. Like someone's got a gold bar on it, or they got a fancier uniform than you. They're telling you what to do. It's just is what it is. You just got to get on with it. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I always needed to know everything to be like, why is there 7 ranks? Why is there 7 ranks of people? What does each person do? Like, I'm not saying I don't respect anyone that's not hiring me, but what does everyone do? Even now in my job now, it would always be like, why does I don't know either that officer or that person who works in the office over there, what is it they want to do. Like, I'm not against it. I'm not rebelling. I'm not saying like I don't want to do it, but I get the point that people think you are. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know, it's a tough one, but you are just trying to understand and help it, I suppose. That's probably why you're just firing questions constantly. Do you know what I mean? Just because you want to know, you want to understand people.
And flip that on its head without going too much into detail into your role at the minute, but like you're in a role at the minute where I imagine you get asked why a lot. Do you find you approach that so different to maybe some of your colleagues? Like, are you somebody that really tries to give somebody understanding because you know how you are?
Yeah, I think probably, to a massive level. So I'll probably be even more like, okay, right, we're doing this, but I'll tell you why we're doing this. It's not just get here and come with me sort of thing. It's we're going to talk about it. I am much more empathetic, I think, than other people who would just be like straight away, let's go do this. Like that's what's happening. That's that. It's black and white. But for me, it's not so black and white. And it's a bit like, well, actually, and sometimes it does you a lot of good as well, because people do understand that you're trying to like explain things to them, and and that you actually care a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, work-wise, that side of it is really, really great, because you can just switch on when you need to. You can talk to people when you need to, and you can explain everything properly, because in your head, you're also explaining as you're doing it. So as you do something, I don't know, as you make something or whatever, you're still thinking of it like an instruction manual or whatever, but I'll just be more vocal about it and be like, okay, guys, this is why I'm doing this. So it is a funny one.
And it's really funny, actually, that every position, like not every role, but the two roles you've mentioned require quite a regimented process and system with it, and kind of this is how it works because this is why, and that there's kind of no room to totally go off and flitter. It might be in your head, but there's processes you've got to follow. Do you find you've gone down that route, A, because you wanted to do the role, but actually having that structure stops you spinning off too much?
Yeah, I think structure is a massive, massive thing with me. I did a video a couple of weeks ago, and it's literally, if I don't get up and do my run at like 6 o'clock or whatever the flavor of the month is that I've suddenly decided I'm doing, whatever it is, I need that sort of structure really. And when I'm questioning and asking these things, I need to know what is what, if that makes sense. It's trying to explain it, innit? It's trying to get the actual words to like be like, this is what it is. But yeah, the routine definitely helps. But again, it does cause sometimes more problems because you want to know everything. Because you're just interested. As if your mind's just ticking over and you're just like, why is that going on? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's interesting.
And it going back to the school kind of thing, like you've achieved quite a bit academically, like you've been quite academically successful.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, from what you said, you'd studied and things like that.
So it's really weird. So I never really did really well at school, but I didn't do bad. I did not do bad at all. I think I got like B's and C's and things like that and everything. So it was never like, I was always doing all right. But I always wanted to do something different, always. So the minute I left school, I went to college and done A-levels. Now, like an absolute psychopath, for absolutely no reason, I did like 5 intensives all over the space of a year, which is that's just what you do, innit? It's just normal thing to do, apparently.
I can't pick, so I'm going to do every one of them.
Oh yeah, literally. So I think you're supposed to pick 3 for a real push, but 5 is just like, you're an idiot. What the hell are you doing? But it was like doing like night school and things like that, because I always needed to be busy. So I did that. I finished that after a year, then was a little bit stuck and was a bit like, oh, what the hell do I sort of do? So I randomly went on and done a music performance course, which is the most random thing in the world because, also with A-levels as well, out of the 5, the 4th one, the last one, the 5th one, the philosophy one I was going to the evening, I actually failed completely. I got a U in that completely. All my other ones, I got straight B's in A-levels, which is pretty good to be fair. I was chuffed with that.
Yeah.
But the philosophy one, I completely failed. And it'd be relevant in a minute, but it's really weird because then I jumped from doing all that sort of like book work to then going and doing like a BTEC diploma. Again, that had to be an intensive course because that's just how my head works. So that was like 5-6 days a week, constantly doing stuff to cram this 2-year course into one. So I jumped to that, which is really random. And then after that, I decided to go and do a philosophy degree. which is the A level that I failed in.
The one that you.
Yeah. And I
Do you
got
reckon
first
that?
in
Do you
it.
reckon that was
Explain
because you didn't like the idea that you hadn't achieved it? So you was like, I need to prove something.
I think I got the ump. I think it was like, right, I got to do it for absolutely no reason because I've never used it again since, which is great. So I went off and got a master's in it, and just got my normal degree, got the master's in it, and just never used it.
So going back to your Psychiatry UK, who doesn't need philosophy? Who doesn't need philosophy?
Well,
everybody.
that's the question.
This is it. I'm going to sign up to an A level after this course and blame you when I fail it. Going back to your diagnosis, then. So we've seen in the past probably 18 months to 2 years, there's been a big influx through Right to Choose and people understanding of it. So when you did it 3 years ago, that would have been in line with when Psychiatry UK were doing the campaign about sporting and stuff.
Yeah.
So you went through the process, you got your diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel? So what did they diagnose you with? Was it combined attentive and attentive?
So it's right, like it was either drawn in the middle or right near like the end of COVID, where you couldn't go in and you couldn't actually like go, because I think Psychiatry UK, I think it's in Cornwall. Don't quote me. I think it is, but they were still doing everything online, so it was all by Skype and like Zoom and all that sort of thing. So I had to sit there and do that with them, and it took about 2 hours. But before we had the appointment, they sent loads of documents out. They sent probably like 5 or 6 documents out, and it was like, I want a statement for your partner, I want like one for your family. Like it was just insane. So they already really decided when I turned up to the appointment, like online, that you got it. So it was weird. Like, don't get me wrong, it was brilliant because during the assessment, it wasn't so much like, I'm going to show you this picture and you tell me how you feel. It was nothing like that. Absolutely. It was more like, do you do this? Do you do that? And it's sort of like putting little puzzle pieces together, which was quite cool. And then it was basically at the end of it, it's like, right, okay, we definitely know that you've got this. We think you've got traits of OCD as well, but what do you want to do? It's your choice. Do you want to go on medication? Do you not want to? What do you want to do? And that was about it, really.
And what did you go on medication?
Yeah. So I went on, I probably tried 3 different things. I've never tried Ritalin. Never had it. The one I've stuck with is methylphenidate. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's right in front of me. But the dosage wise was a bit weird. So you literally have like this triage nurse who you can ring like 24/7. Is
that the titration team?
That's it. Yeah. So you literally get your like bespoke person who you just like ring all the time. You've got to do your blood pressure every day to make sure that like when you take this medication, because it's a stimulant, if you give it to someone else, it's going to be a completely opposite effect if you don't have ADHD, apparently. This is what she was saying. So you've got to do your blood pressure, you've got to make sure that it's all at normal levels and things, because if your blood pressure starts spiking up, you're not supposed to have that medicine in your body. You've got no need for it because you're then overproducing stuff. I guess. I'm paraphrasing because I don't really know. But yeah, it was a really slow transition of like, right, okay, start this first tablet, then take 2, then take 3, and then so now it's only 1 a day, but it's like I think it's the 4th dose up. I was equivalent to like 4 of them.
Are you on like slow release? So like 8 to 10 hour release, is it?
Yes, prolonged release. That's the same thing, isn't it?
Yes, it sounds like a long period.
I'm reading the bottle, isn't it? But yeah, so literally just take 1 now a day, and that is it. The only thing I do struggle with taking it, which in my I only just recently last month had my like reassessment. So I think you're supposed to have it every year or 2 years, but for whatever reason, I didn't have it for about 3, pushing 4.
Yeah, you're meant to have annual reviews.
It's supposed to be annually, is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't.
So is your medication with your GP now through shared care, or do you still go through Psychiatry UK for it?
Yeah, it's through shared care now, so I can go to any sort of pharmacy with it. The only thing is they won't send it to Psychiatry UK. When I was getting the prescription from them directly, they would send it to your house, and then someone would need to sign for it and all that sort of thing. Absolutely fine. But with this medication, I don't know. It says like it always has a sticker on the like a controlled substance. Yeah, I have to go to a pharmacy and actually pick up that one thing. It's really weird. They won't send it home, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know.
So, how were things psychologically and emotionally after getting diagnosed? Because I think when I got diagnosed, for me, my experience was elation, validation to start with. Then it moved to having an understanding. And then this roller coaster started for me of emotions, of almost like grief.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was probably more like I've got a little bit of an answer to something now, but at the same time, it drops you down a massive rabbit hole because then straight away you're Googling stuff, you're reading a little pamphlet in the box that no one else in the world reads, unless you've got ADHD, you read every word. But yeah, so as much as it was good, it was busy because straight away it was like, right, I need to research this. Okay, this is why I do that behavior, or that's why I do this, or like all these little things, because then you suddenly get overwhelmed because you're sort of Googling. It's like, I remember my mum years ago reading like a doctor's book at night, and then suddenly like you find out you should have died like 6 months ago. Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like that. You read every single thing. So I can't say it wasn't stressful, but it was nice. It was a massive weight off your shoulders to be like, I've got an answer for this now. I'm not just crazy. Or I am, just people know I am. So
Yeah.
which is quite
And
cool.
I've got a reason for it.
Oh. But yeah, literally, it was good. The best thing ever was just like, it was suddenly like having a massive sigh and breath to be like, right, I'm diagnosed, I've got an answer for this, I've got some in black and white that I can say, or just a label. It's just a label that I've got of it to say like, right, this is that, and that's it. So
it's the ability to know that you're looking in the right area. I always find like, because for me, I spent years disagreeing with my GP and just searching the internet and finding different things and thinking, oh, have I got this? Have I got that? Have I got this? Have I got that? Because nobody was there trying to give me answers. And it was only through OCD that I found ADHD. It was the ruminating, the intrusive thoughts, the overthinking.
That's interesting.
And I stumbled across, when I was looking at OCD, an ADHD screener. So my OCD came before the ADHD.
By accident, almost.
Yeah, by total accident. It was one of them moments. I come across the ASRS screener, did it, and it just flashed up, basically just saying, you're riddled. Like, skip the doctor, go straight to the specialist. And I was like, this makes no sense. And then you look into it and you're like, wow.
But it actually ticks a few boxes and makes some sort of sense.
Mine was like, I had at the 18 statements, I think 14 of mine were strongly agree, 2 were agree.
Oh yeah, it's done on like a 6 little chart thing, isn't it?
One was sometimes.
Brilliant.
It was literally just screaming.
Yeah.
But with you like when we first spoke, one thing that you spoke about is your inability to switch off, your inability to let a thought go. And I suppose this links into early when you're on about that question of why.
Yeah.
What's that look for you? Because like I know through my experience that sits very much hybrid between ADHD and OCD.
Yeah.
And a lot of people assume that OCD is just pattern recognition or numbers or cleanliness.
Yeah. The washing the hands.
And I did, until you look at the obsessive compulsive elements and you look into how it sits within the mind.
Yeah.
What was that for you? Like the OCD side of things, they said to you about OCD.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically exactly like you, the other way around. It was more like, right, we've got ADHD, but actually we've got loads of traits of OCD here. And I'm like, right, okay, well, I don't really understand how. And they were like, right, for a start, you bite your nails. I bite them very badly every day. Can't help it. But it's one of those things, and it's really weird. I think I said to you earlier, this could be anything to do with, I don't know, seeing friends, or like it could be any activity, even down to like normal fitness. If I get sort of like hooked on something quick, I will just do it. And it'd be, I need to work out 6-7 days a week. I can't just do the 3. I need to, it's very, very like all or nothing. But again, with that OCD side, is like now and again, I'll sit up all night and I'll have one little thought in my head. Cause I don't know, we had a row about washing like 6 months ago or something, or I don't know, I moaned at my mum once when I was 12 or something like that. Like you'll get trapped into a little thought, which is just completely bizarre, but you can't let it go. And that was the OCD side really for me, that it was a bit like, oh, okay, right. I can't. It's nice because I can now put a label on it and be like, right, that's my OCD going. It's not me. But I never knew it existed because you just assume it's going to be you're washing your hands, you're taking 9 baths a day, or whatever it is. You just assume it's like that.
And I think you also assume that everybody's like it. I think one common thing for me
Yeah.
was because I knew no different and I didn't talk it out loud because I was convinced if I said to people, I've got a voice in my head, a narrative,
Yeah.
a monologue all the time, people would lock me up
Yeah.
and say I was a nut job.
Yeah, you're in
If
Broadmoor. That's it.
Yeah, if I said I was up until 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about some of the things I was because I was worried that somebody had perceived something the wrong way or got the wrong impression, or I'd
Yeah.
had a thought of something I had to do the next day, and then my brain would go, if you go to sleep, you're going to forget you've got to do the thing the next day. So my brain goes, right, the answer is to stay awake because I know if I don't
Do it
get to
now.
8 o'clock still awake, I'm going to forget. And
Yeah.
all the extreme thought, and on the other hand, like the intrusive thoughts. I did a video the other day, and like in high levels of stress or anxiety, or if I'm overly tired, my brain presses the fuck it button, and
Yeah.
I'll have kind of intrusive thoughts, no desire to do anything, but like,
Yeah.
when can you ever turn around to somebody and go, yeah, just so you know, my brain just thought about turning the car into that rail in there, not
Yeah.
because I want to, but
And
just
not because
because
I'm
my
going to.
brain, it
Just
hasn't got space to compute.
yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one because it would be anything like that, or like I don't know. Say I've seen. I think I was on a training course a couple of weeks ago, and I seen a guy that I worked with like years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. We were in the Navy, like it was crazy, and suddenly bumped into him. But it was a bit like, oh wow, like hello sort of thing. But then that night, I remember literally sitting up downstairs, being like, was I horrible to him? Was I rude? Like, because I don't know. I don't think I was, but was I? And then like you get a message later on to be like, oh, really nice to see you today. But then you're even more sort of overthinking it to be like, oh, maybe I could have been nicer. Maybe I could have said something else, or like, but why? Because you're clearly not done anything wrong, and he's not punched me, so I've not offended him. Do you know what I mean? So
I think it's when others don't act the way you think you should
you
be
suddenly
acting,
think
or
that's
they
wrong.
should be
Yeah,
asking you. You think there's a problem there.
yeah, and it's always your fault, and it's
Yeah.
not, but it is.
But in many cases, like there's that statistic in there, like on average, the undiagnosed ADHD adult or undiagnosed child has in
Yeah,
excess of 20,000 more negative comments than a neurotypical.
yeah,
So when it comes to overthinking things, worrying about the reactions, picking up on slight subtleties that could be perceived as negative, you got the RSD that kicks in, that
yeah,
rejection sensitive dysphoria rears its little head up, where you can foresee perceived rejection beforehand.
yeah,
The feeling of getting rejected can impact you and stick to you like Velcro.
yeah.
All these things, it just makes you so intensely in tune in things, but at the same point, your brain's elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a weird one, and it's a really hard one to explain to people as well, because like a few times, like I don't know, even if I'm at home with Luke or something, and we've had some silly argument about something, or whatever it is. It could be anything. It could be anything. It could be work, whatever, friends, anything. But it's almost like, don't have a go at me or please don't, because you don't realize I've beat myself up probably 150 times more about whatever I've said or whatever's like, and it'll be something really, really small as well. It'll never be anything big. It'll always be the small things that really, really sort of, you just can't get out your head for whatever reason. And yeah, and you do sort of like overanalyze stuff, and you do sort of like almost beat yourself up about it for absolutely no reason. So the minute someone then says it, it's like, oh, bleed now. But I've just said that 25,000 times over myself. But it's different when do you know what I mean? It's a weird one to explain, but
I think it makes it very difficult for anybody else to cause you more kind of distress than you cause yourself.
yeah,
It's almost like you prepare, like for me as well, I find with new social situations or going places I'm unfamiliar with,
yeah,
I go through every possible outcome, what could happen when I walk through
yeah.
the door. I'm looking for the toilet, I'm looking for the bar, I'm looking for the exit, I'm looking for the
Even
fire
going to a
exit.
shopping centre, going to
Yeah.
Asda or something silly like that. I need to know where that toilet is. I need to know where I don't know, where they keep the meal deals or whatever the thought or the flavour of the day is that my head needs to know. And you do sort of over panic about it. I mean, I had to go to the vape shop like 2 weeks ago, and almost all day I was almost panicking about it. What? Because I'm going in and spending money? Do you know what I mean? It's madness. And then it's silly. So then that goes on again then, and then the cycle like restarts.
Have you heard of time blindness?
No.
So time blindness, like where you can get lost in rabbit holes and your perception of time, you lose that. Or like for me, I find like if I've got an appointment at 3 o'clock, I struggle to do anything beforehand because I'm almost convinced I'm going to miss that appointment. And the second I start doing something, then my mind's gone, or I'm not making it, or I'm falling late for it. I do it so often where I've spent 4 hours doing nothing, and then something crops up, I've got to do it, and then I miss appointments and stuff.
It's massively like unconscious as well. You don't even realize you're doing it. So like tomorrow morning, it's my not first ever dentist visit, but I'm going to the hygienist. I've never been before. I'm telling you now, for the last 2 weeks that I've been on a training course, I have worried about that bloody appointment. For one, thinking I've got the day wrong, so I've checked the calendar probably like 10 million times. But then there's not going to be anything bad because you're just going to an appointment. It's nothing big. You know what to expect. You've been in the building. You know where it is. But then all of a sudden you start panicking. Now it's like 2 or 3 streets away. But you suddenly, the last 2 or 3 days, you get those thoughts of, is there going to be busy traffic? Am I going to get a parking space? It's not the only bloody road. I can just walk. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's those sort of weird thoughts which are completely insignificant, not the actual thing you're having done. So, but the whole like logistics of all the little stuff of like, I need to get in the car, and have I got this in the car? Have I got a drink or something in there? Do you know what I mean? It's like it's all the irrelevant bits that just sort of come up, which just take over. And it's like, I'm going for a fill-in. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not a big, I'm not worried about the fill-in. I'm not worried about the operation or whatever it will be. But it's all the acts leading up to it. Like I said, even the other day, like with the vape shop, it is so weird, but I got so overwhelmed that I just put it off because I didn't want to go. But I'm going in there to spend money that they really want me to buy. So that's kind of bizarre, really. It's weird. It's a weird one.
And I think that's why it's difficult for people to understand, and that's why I'll always empathise with people trying to understand, because I will accept logically it makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not logical. My brain is irrational.
Yeah.
And rather than beat myself up for being irrational and going, oh, you should do this, you should do that, I just go, this is how my brain works. That's how I'm feeling now, and lean into it. Literally. So how are you with you can see a lot of people in here saying, oh, that's so and so, that's from Luke's, that's from the lives and stuff. How are you relationship?
I can't see it. Why is that? Oh no.
Nothing bad. Just people recognizing your mush.
Can't get away from it.
It's probably better than them saying, "Yeah, that's the Bobby who took me down the other day."
It is very true.
It's probably a better way to recognise you.
Yeah.
So friendships, you said when you were younger, like friendships and things like that were quite sporadic, and you kind of immersed yourself in loads of different things.
Yeah.
And then you finding out this, getting into a relationship. How has that looked relationship wise? How have you managed to kind of make sure that your partner knows about it now you do, and kind of is aware of the things that you struggle with to be able to support you? How did you communicate that?
It's been a really weird one. So I mean, going for the most recent, obviously being with Luke, the minute that we met, I don't think I come out and said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm ADHD. Do you still want to go on a date? Like, I don't think I said it like that, but it definitely sort of come up more or less straight away to be like, right, okay, just so you know, if I ever miss a text, I miss a call, if I forget to turn up, or if I'm late, which I'm going to be late to everything because I just am, this is a little bit what it's not. I'm not doing it always on purpose. Yeah, it's not. And if I did ever be 5 minutes late, I can bet you now I've beat myself up 10 times about it. Do you know what I mean? So I think I explained really, really early on that it was a bit like I'm very sporadic. I'm very, very like impulsive. Like if I want to randomly do something, like the other night, I printed off some sheet music on piano and I just randomly learned, like, I can't remember what it was. It was like Jurassic Park or something really weird. But I had to stay up all night and learn it because I'm a nutcase. And that's just what you do. But I think I had to explain that sort of first of all to be like, Luke, just so you know, yeah, I'm a bit odd. Like, it's cool odd, but it's odd. But yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it's been good as gold, really. I think
The thing is, you ain't sleeping for shit, are you? If you've not learned
no,
to play, it's like no,
well,
I
no,
ain't
I've never even
sleeping.
watched Jurassic Park. I know
Do
it
you
was
want to
about
watch it
dinosaurs and
now?
that in it, but I've never actually seen it. No, not yet.
Yeah.
I could play the
No,
tune, no?
but the thing is though, you never know when someone's gonna like rock up and just go, "Can anyone here play the Jurassic Park theme?" And it's that moment there. You're gonna stand up and go, "Yes, I can."
I
Like
can't. I'm the only one in the room.
that is your why.
Do you know what it's meant when is it? Because I mean, I've sat in a few pub quizzes going back a couple of years, but like for some reason they come out with like the most random thing, like what's the most spoken language in the world? Like, how is anyone going to know that? But for some reason I know it's Mandarin. I ain't got a clue. I don't know why I know that, but for some reason I stayed up one night and I googled that. I don't know why, and for some reason it stayed in my
Google
head.
what?
So I'm
Sorry.
amazing at pub quizzes. What the most
Oh,
spoken languages in the world?
what is it?
Mandarin, it's Chinese.
Is that based on population though?
Google. I don't
See,
know.
my head's in a. You just put me in a rabbit hole now. I need facts. I need to know. Is
But
that
this is
based on the
exactly how it
amount of?
works. So someone will drop a
Yeah.
bomb about something really silly, and then you need to know, and you will not sleep tonight unless you know.
I'm gonna. Jen, you're in the chat. Write down Mandarin and text it me. I need to find this out. Otherwise, I'll be waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I say waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll probably still be
We'll still be
awake
up.
at 2 o'clock in the
Yeah, we'll
morning.
still be up. I'll be watching EastEnders that I haven't watched for 20 years, but tonight I wanted to watch it. So
Yeah, it's
it's
not
just
at all.
mental, isn't it?
So going back, so what
We went off on
what
a
are the
tangent there,
main?
didn't
No, it's fine. Like it was gonna happen. What are your main symptoms that you'd say impact your life then?
we? As in, like, what before I got diagnosed, or like day to day now?
Or even now, that mixture, because you might have things in place now that help that be better.
Yes and no, really. I think more now it's better for me to be like, if I do get a random thought or something random comes up, and I mean this is probably why this relationship's amazing, because I could just be like, Luke, right, this is just my ADHD doing this. Like I've got an obsession about something and I need to do it. I know it's a bit weird, but I'm gonna do it. And that's that. So I think as well, it's probably routine for me. I need to get up, I need to do something. So whenever I go onto night shifts with work, and whenever I sort of got to sleep through the day, and that messes my like little routine on my cycle up, even that little thing, that's me done for 3 or 4 days then. It's just written off, because
and that makes no sense, does
routine.
it? Because we need structure and routine, but we hate it as well. Our mind hates it, but we physically need it to help us to be able to function some
We
kind
need
of
routine,
normal.
but then we also weirdly need variety as well. But then they don't sort of mix or meet in the middle, and it's never sort of like a medium balance. It's either like up here and I'm going crazy, or whatever, I'm jumping around showing everyone, I don't know, some bubble machine or whatever we got here now. Or it's like the other side where it's just like I cannot get out of bed because I can, because I've broken my routine, everything's out the window and everything's ruined, and I didn't do my workout last week, which I was supposed to do 6 and not 5 or whatever, and then that's it. Everything's ruined. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird one.
And I think people understandably struggle to get that paralysis side of things, because when your brain's just going, no, don't think so, because like with an ADHD brain, like whereas somebody can have a thought and then action it, there's times where we can have 50 thoughts and get them done, hyper focus on it, and I will ask anybody to try and beat me in a race when I'm hyper focused, because ain't nobody getting a job done better or quicker or more precise than I will.
And that's like your superpower, sort of, that's your great side coming out. So like when I was messaging you earlier about like what questions or whatever we're going to do tonight, literally my mum and dad was here, Luke's mum was here, Luke was here, and they're all chatting about different things, they're all having different conversations. But then all that noise wasn't a distraction, which some people think like kids in school, they get distracted easy, whatever. Yes, I do. But actually I went into like a hyper focus mode, and then I'm doing 7 things at once, which is really weird. I'm butting in that little conversation because I can still hear it, even though it's like quiet, if that makes sense. But then, and then I'm messaging you a load of stuff as well. But I just really noticed it. It was all exactly at the same time that I'm having 4 conversations, but I am in tune with and I'm actually more focused than what anyone is on their own one conversation, and I'm doing
Yeah.
like 6 of them.
It's like it is. It's like if someone said to you, "Here's 3 juggling balls, juggle them," you wouldn't be
Yep.
able to do it. But when you're in that zone, someone could chuck 7 at you, and you're just going bam, 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 and people are like, "How can you do 7 when you can't even do 3?" And you're like, "I don't
Yeah.
know, but right now I can chuck another one. Let's go. Let's call it 8."
Yeah. It's weird. It is really, really weird.
So
Crazy
you
stuff.
mentioned earlier as well about friendship relationships and not being the best with texts and speaking to people for months.
No, there's some personal experience.
No.
Do you know what? Yeah,
How are
it is
you
a nightmare.
friends with that? Are they more forgiving now? Because like I've been in that situation where I'm either the person that is texting everyone in my phone book just a quick check-in, just to make sure I haven't missed somebody,
Yeah.
or I won't talk to someone for months unless they message me. And I'm like extremes, one side or the other.
Yeah, and it's not always like a conscious thing. Sometimes it'd be like, I don't know. So one of my bridesmaids, Ellie, the other day was like, right, I haven't seen you for ages, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know. Like, and it'd be like, shit, actually, I haven't seen you for like 14 months, but it's still that friendship has not gone away. We are still close as anything. We might not speak like probably for long periods of time, or suddenly one night in 2 weeks' time, I'm on a night shift and I want to reply now, so I'm sending you 25 messages. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird one. I think everyone's just got used to me, really, to be like, it's not a personal thing. Dan's not being an idiot. Dan hasn't visited me for 6 months or whatever, but it's not. They just sort of know what I'm like now, I think. But I will always explain it and be like, look, this is why. I'm not doing it intentionally. I'm not sort of, but it's a hard one to explain as well, because you're like, I'm not just saying I am a shit friend, but I am, but I'm not, because it's not really me, but it is. Do you know what I mean? It's a really hard one to
Yeah.
explain, because you've got to be
It
like, I'm not doing it intentionally, but I know I am because I'm doing it.
yeah. It's that I was talking about it the other day about detaching the ADHD and the person, because quite
But
often,
yeah,
although it's something that builds part of you, it can very much consume you as well. And beyond the ADHD,
yeah,
you're still a person. You're still a lot of other things. That's just a part of you. But it is the like. There's that theory about spoons. Like, have you heard the spoon theory? So it's a chronic pain
I'm loving
theory.
these theories tonight, by the way. I'm going to
Yeah, so
Google them
it's,
all
it's
later.
it's a chronic pain theory that's been kind of adopted by the neurodivergent community, and it is so ultimately. So your neurotypical will wake up in the morning with 10 spoons. You and the neurotypical have both got 10 spoons.
Yeah,
Those spoons represent energy, get up and go, brain power, whatever, however you want to kind of attribute to
for
it.
like your motivation and all
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of
The
stuff.
the
Okay.
neurotypical will get up. They will go in the shower, they'll brush the teeth, they'll do the hair, they'll have breakfast, they'll get in the car, they'll get to work without even having to think. So they get to work and they've still got 9.5 spoons. But the
Mm.
ADHD has got to get up and you've got to think, right, where did I put this? Where did I do that? I've got to go in the shower now. What time is it? What's going that? And then
Yeah,
sometimes you haven't got the energy to push. So you're having to use more energy to push yourself into a cycle and a routine. So although we both start with the same opportunity, the rate in which we use the brain and energy power
yeah.
differs. So we'll both get to work having done the same 10 tasks, but we've only got 7 spoons and they've got 9.5.
Mm.
So actually, we've then got to reevaluate and go, I'm working on a 70 here. They've got a 95. How am I going to compete?
And
So
we
then
wonder
you
why we're
work,
knackered all the time.
yeah,
Like,
then you work over the top to achieve to
yeah.
get where you need to be, and they're just doing it. And it's not a fault thing. It
Mm.
really helped me to understand why I felt so fooked
Yeah.
compared to other peers of mine who were doing the same thing, but somehow managed to.
So when you know that now, then do you?
Mhm.
How much difference does that make to you, like personally? Because
I
that's new to me. I get it. I do. I understand it. I've probably heard something really similar before. I've never actually properly took it on board.
I communicate it. So sometimes, like, and I've had this conversation because I've been where I work for 16 years, and
Mhm.
like I'll go in and I will literally say in the office, I've only got a 60 today,
Yeah.
and like that doesn't mean that I'm going to work any less hard, but my
Yeah.
maximum capacity in one particular area is only at a 60.
Yeah.
But then some days I'll go in and I'll be working and I'll put 150, 200%,
Yeah.
but and they know it balances out. Whereas before I used to beat myself up when I just couldn't function. If I've got when I was in management and I had myself to worry about, I had 11 staff, 17 staff at one point, 140 students in the college, and I'm there going, I can't do compliance today. My brain hasn't got
I'm a 10.
compliance in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps me to be easier on myself. I get more out of it. And actually, by sitting there and going, where am I at? I almost know where I need to recharge. But recharging doesn't necessarily mean go to sleep. Like a lot of people think recharge is having a sleep. But for me, a recharge could be going to the gym, going for a walk, doing some skincare, listening to my
keeping your mind
album.
focused, isn't it? I watched some podcast the other day, and I can't remember who it was. I can't remember in my life, but it was all about people going to the gym and stuff. And this guy was saying basically, I'm not a gym goer. I'm not massive. I am what I am. But at that minute when I'm holding, like, I don't know, say 50 kilos above my head or whatever, you could tell I don't really get weights. But so I don't know if that's big or small or what. I don't know. But when you're in that minute, you haven't got time to think about that dish that you didn't clean up 3 weeks ago. You haven't, because you're so occupied doing stuff. So I think that's why if I don't do a lot of fitness, or I don't go for a run, or I even just do stuff upstairs or jump on the treadmill for 20 minutes or something, if I don't, I will then majorly get into a spin because I haven't had that tiny little cut-off time. And I suppose it is recharging. Yeah, it's not going to sleep, but I haven't had that thing where I've just focused on one thing and then that's it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I get that totally. You mentioned about being a perfectionist and things having to be bang on earlier. So this could very easily sit within the OCD and stuff with work.
100%.
But like, you're going through at the minute like a crazy amount of change. So you're getting married to your fiance Luke. You're buying a house together. You've got all that going on because you don't do things by half, do you? Like and like people who have
if you're going to do it, let's just do it now. Why not?
And stuff. He's got a very similar energy to you, or that's certainly what we see. You've got two high energy frequency people there. That must be chaotic trying to bring all that
we get his sister to do a lot of our admin, so otherwise we'd never do it. But so with the wedding, we basically both said to his sister, look, you're gonna have to do a lot. Like, I really hate to ask you. And then I've said this to my best man Tom as well, and been like, guys, you're gonna have to like prod me or poke me to do stuff. Like, I'm gonna have to do a list, or even just I need to be held accountable for stuff. So you need to like text me and be like, is there an update about the wedding? Because there's probably 10 updates about the wedding that I haven't told you about, which I just completely forgot through no fault of anyone's, well, through ADHD. But yeah, it's a funny one. We literally probably would not be getting married if she wasn't helping stuff, because we would just forget about stuff completely unintentionally. Like, a classic example is, like, going a little bit off topic, but 2 weeks ago was his friend's 30th, and we were going out for dinner on the Saturday, and we both completely forgot. So we arranged other plans with people, and even though it's on the calendar, which is right staring straight at me now, and it was in massive capitals in like red letters, but like, unless it's there and then, it's just gone. It's not happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I hate planning too far ahead. Planning too far ahead freaks me the hell out, because I feel like I'm more likely to forget.
And then I've said to Luke as well, like, I'm not being lazy with like not packing stuff or whatever. Like, we've been doing it, but I almost need that sort of deadline to be like, the minute we exchange, I know in that 2 week time or week's time or whatever it is, that I am doing it. Now, when I bought my first house 6-7 years ago, we bought and exchanged it. Yeah, we exchanged and moved in on the same day. That was chaos, because still at 12 o'clock midday, I've got a van outside, full up on my stuff, and I don't know if I'm picking the keys up or not. So that was really, really stressful. But this time's a bit different, because everything's sort of more planned out. It's more methodical. It's more, I think we sat down and basically he's got it somewhere. I'm not going to show you the personal stuff, but literally had like a list of stuff and been like, right, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. So his sister got married, I think it was 2 years ago. And she basically had the same sort of thing. So we were like, right, can we nick your list and just adapt it a little bit? And then if I've got a tick sheet of stuff, that will keep me a little bit accountable. That's
But
the
it's
only way I
such
can
an
do it.
ADHD thing to look at and go, I know where I need to get to.
Yeah.
What is the most simple, quick way I can get
Yeah.
there? It doesn't have to be meticulous. I just need to know. And it is like, right, you did a list. Give me that list. How can I make this job as
Yeah.
easy as possible? Because I know it's going to be difficult.
I think we're really good at working with resources and being like, right, okay, that's a little shortcut. It's not going to, in the long run, it's not going to be a shortcut because everything on that list I'm going to have to look through, I'm going to have to do. It's not, you're still doing it, but in my head, it's easier to sort of comply because I've got a little bit of paper that I know I'm doing stuff on. So like tick sheets and things like that has just changed everything really. And the same with the house, we've done exactly the same thing. It's been like, right, we need to sort out the electric, we need to sort out the, I don't know, council tax, whatever it is, all those bits and pieces. And that, but I'm really accountable for it because it is literally on my fridge and I know what I got to do.
But there's something rewarding about lists. That's how that little dopamine when you go
get
up to a
excited.
list
It's
and you
really
tick
sad.
something off, it's like, yeah, woo!
It's really
like,
weird. I mean, it's good weird, but it's but it's really satisfying.
Highlighting
like
does it for me.
She's really excited.
I love highlighting on a list of something I've done or post-it notes. There's something like double dopamine hit if I can screw up a post-it note because I've done something, and then if I throw it and get it in the bin as well, I'm losing my shit. Like I am bossing life right now.
It is mad, isn't it? I mean, like, so yeah, when it's planned for December, we're moving within the next month, hopefully, let's say. But I will always leave stuff to the last minute because I know it's important. I know it needs to be done, and I can put like 1,000% energy into it to do something. So I tend to leave things really last minute, and it's not because I know I'll perform better because I've got that pressure.
6 weeks worth of packing in 2 weeks because you've got the pressure. There's something about pressure that makes that superpower, what you describe it, that hyperfixation and that above and beyond ability kick in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's very immediate things. So, like, I think I was saying to you as well with work, if I'm going to something which is happening right here and now, and I need to sit down, we need to do an interview, whatever it is, if I'm doing it spot on at the minute, I am so much better than if I've got a plan to speak to someone in 2 weeks' time or whatever, because I will panic and worry about all of that for absolutely no reason. And I think sometimes you can trip yourself up when you over prepare stuff. So I will leave everything. So it looks like I'm doing no work. And I bloody am. But do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just the way of doing things. It's really weird. It's just very like on the it needs to be now.
Someone's just put a new exercise book or notepad. Oh, that feels good, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
100%. Cracking the spine of a new book.
It always reminds me of Monica from Friends when she has a little label maker. It just needs to be organised. But yeah, but it's funny though, isn't it? Because you're either really like, you're really on it, you've got everything down to a T, like with the lists and things like that, or we're the opposite and we ain't doing nothing. My bedroom's a shithole, everything's everywhere. Like, it's both extremes.
Being masters in chaotic, extreme situations, like high intensity, reactive, make or break, high risk scenarios will respond, boom, 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 boom. But then simple tasks, and it's like, I can't see where
somehow
I need to go.
Somehow you get that logic, don't you? And you just, I don't even know how it works, but somehow you just grab that logic and be like, right, okay, I don't know, maybe this is something I learned how to do in a classroom 2 years ago or whatever, but suddenly I can remember it, and suddenly I'm great at it because I've got that extra bit of pressure. Some people under pressure will literally just crumble and be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. But so a classic one is with Navy, because so I do reserves now, so it's part-time, so it's a bit like TA sort of stuff, but I'll go away on courses for the weekend and stuff like that. The last one we were on, no instructor turned up, and as it happened, I was the only one who's been there long enough that could do it. So all of a sudden that Saturday morning, which I didn't plan for, you've got to get up, you've got to do an hour's like talk on what you've done, what's going on, all this sort of rubbish. And then, but if someone had told me 2 or 3 days before, or even the night before, I wouldn't have done that. There is no way I would have done it. But because you're on the spot and because it's pushed you and that's it, it's even like this afternoon, I'm really nervous about coming on here. But actually, when it gets to like 2 minutes before, it's like, no, I'm on. Like, switch on, let's do it. It's really weird. And I think that's probably why I did get on so well with Navy as well, because it was, you need to switch on now. You need to get going now. Like, there's someone at the end of the bed screaming and shouting. You've got to lay out of the room in full kit, and you've got to go iron that, and you've got to do this, that, or whatever. So it's a very complex thing because it's hard, because you then start thinking, well, why is he telling me to do that? Like we said earlier. But at the same time, because they are and the pressure's on, that helps somehow. And that like unleashes your good stuff, which is so weird. But it works.
Okay, so shall we open up the question? No. Shall we open up some questions? So anybody in the comments got any questions for Dan?
Don't all come at once.
Elizabeth has asked, how does it affect your job now?
In loads of different ways. So doing shift work for me is sometimes horrendous, sometimes amazing. Sometimes it's the best thing I could do because it's really on the spot, or like, I don't know, say I'm going into a night shift and then I've got absolutely no energy because I haven't slept all day. And then we've suddenly got to go to something. I am on and I am awake more than anyone else in the room. And it's brilliant. So for that side of things, it's amazing. But if I've got to do something in 2 weeks' time or a week's time, unless someone's either bugging me and nudging me, or I put a little list in my little drawer and I look at it every day and see it, or like put it up on my fridge, then it just doesn't happen. So that's where the struggles come into it. When I've got that little bit of time to be like, I don't know, right, give me a day to prepare for something. All I'm going to do is worry all that day. I'm not going to prepare anything. And on the day, I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it really well. And I know I am. I'm just going to panic about it for a day. Which is insane. So that, yeah, it's two sides really. It's really, really good, but then also can be tough. But it's all an internal thing. You're beating yourself up. You're not getting into trouble because of anything. Like, it's not like that. Everyone knows you're committed to doing stuff. It's just trying to get that out of my head to be like, right, I need to show everyone that I'm committed because I'm doing this. Or, do you know what I mean? I don't need that validation every minute of every day at work to be, I don't need someone to come up and say, well done with that. I don't need it. But I need it in my own head to be like, I did that right. I know I did. I don't need a well done.
The worst thing with work as well, I don't know how you find it. If someone says to me on a Friday, can I sit and have a meeting with you on Tuesday? If they don't tell me,
you've ruined my old bank holiday weekend.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest bugbears. Now and again you get it and be like, I need to speak to you. And I'm like, I think it's Daryl, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I'm giving a shout. Now and again he'd be like, right, I need to speak to you tomorrow. And I'm like, right, no, do it now, because I'm freaking now. And the minute I'm getting changed into like the uniform, I'm freaking out. But because you need to just be, if you're going to tell me something, just tell me now. I can deal with it. I'm a big boy. Like, do you know what I mean? If I've done something wrong, whatever.
And it's worse when you go in, they say, I just wanted to tell you how fantastic you did last week. And you're like,
yeah, I've been shitting myself for 2 hours.
You're giving me a compliment. You're complimenting me, and I haven't slept all weekend. I've gone through tribunals in my head. I've gone through multiple meetings. I already know what solicitor that I'm using is if you dismiss me unfairly, and you're now telling me I've done something good. Thanks for that.
I'm on the phone to ACAS already. Like, I'm going down. I've lost my house. I've lost my marriage. He's split up with me because I now ain't got a job. Like, and that is all because you said you want to speak to me in 5 minutes' time. And in that 5 minutes, I've had a breakup. I've lost my house. I've lost everything. It's mental, isn't it? Like, it is crazy. But at the same time, it's good because with other things that you do, when you need to switch on, you really, really can. And you can be like the best worker ever. You can probably do 10 people's jobs, which is just insane. But at the same time, when you can, and when you're struggling to get the motivation and everything, that's the tough bit. Because it's like you can't force your brain to do something I don't want to do. Yeah, you just can't.
And people that can are neurotypical. it's
they're weird.
It's like stop. and I think the biggest thing for me is I've stopped trying to be neurotypical. I'm just now finding the best way to be neurodiverse and put management systems in place for myself to do things better.
Yeah, I mean, one good thing we do at home, which is going on a tangent again, but
no tangent away.
But one good thing that probably me and Luke do as well is I'll say something's happened or something's going on or whatever it is, or something's bad about to happen or whatever. I'll always say, right, okay, this is what I think, but at the same time, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. This is just what I'm thinking. This is just what I'm feeling. But tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I don't know. So it's always putting it in someone else's court as well to be like, sometimes I'll try and mold to be more sort of neurotypical, to be like, that's how a normal person responds. I need to know to do that. But then sometimes that just makes that 10 times worse.
Yeah, but kind of involve the other person who's in the conversation in your head in the reality.
Yeah, make it real, because at the
And
minute it's not real.
and if that person turned round, if Luke turned round to you and went, "You're absolutely right. I do think that did frustrate me." At least you
Yeah,
got an answer then, and then you can work out your response.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did a podcast with Greg and Perry on Friday, and
Okay.
they're like a great couple who are that they've refined and got their communication to a beautiful point. Like Greg's
Yeah.
diagnosed, Perry is ADHD. She's not got diagnosed. She's clearly neurodivergent herself,
Hmm.
and I was on about it's not always been um, as easy as that, but actually working on themselves, finding out about their neurodivergence has
Yeah.
enabled them to communicate empathetically towards each other
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
personalizing everything. It becomes about, yeah, I'm hacked off,
yeah,
but
yeah,
what
yeah.
was the root of it? What's your thought? What's my thought? And it's the same with anything, isn't it? Like that communication element and taking it out your brain and into the reality can calm the ADHD brain so
Yeah,
much.
100%. 100%. It's all, yeah, it is literally making something real. Because the thing is, when you sat up at night thinking about something, or I don't know, you're in work and you can't get something out of your head, none of that is real. And you've made that
Mm.
200 times worse than what any of it is without just saying it. But I also sometimes will even panic about saying it in the first place because I don't want to bring it up. Because I want that thought to go away, but that thought doesn't go away. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a funny way. It's trying to manage it all, isn't it? And look at the best way to
Mm.
do everything. We're never going to be
Okay.
perfect at this.
So that last question, which I ask everybody,
Oh no.
is if you could go back to your younger self from where you are now and
Mm-hmm.
give yourself a message, what would it be and why? Doesn't have to be sentimental. So it could be anything. But if you think back and you could go back and give the child version of yourself a message, what would it be and why?
Probably loads of different things come up of like, it's going to be all right, blah, 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 all the sort of sentimental things. But in all honesty, probably just don't fit into a box. There's no point. So it's not going to work out. You're going to push yourself to fit into a box. So really randomly as well. I mean, I was with my ex-girlfriend for like 12 years and always
Mm.
sort of knowing I was gay, sort of
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to be that normal person, say normal, but I wanted to think normally. I wanted
You
to
wanted to
do
you
everything. So I
wanted to
needed the
live the
mold
life that you thought
that others did.
others
Yeah.
that you should. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that I was afraid of anything or against anything, or absolutely nothing like that. But it was just okay. If I do this normal thing, maybe my brain will go normal, and then
Mm.
that would. But that goes for everything, not just like
I
relationship
found that
wise.
massively confusing. Like for me, so I've done the okey cokey of sexuality. I have. So I was with girls for years. Then I
Mm-hmm.
came out because I'd met a guy on holiday and there was an attraction. I came out as gay, and then I was like, but I ain't gay because I still fancy. So then I went as bisexual a bit, and
Yeah.
then then I was with a girl for a while. Then I was with and it was like I was doing the okey cokey, and I realised
But try
that
out.
yeah, for me, it was just like this sexuality thing isn't a thing. It's just basically if I like a person, I'm open to it, and it was that fitting in a box. I needed a definitive answer to be able to go, this is who I am. But
Yeah.
actually, this is who I am. Like it doesn't have to be in that box.
Yeah.
And it was said before, like everybody says to a lot of neurodiverse people, "Oh, you're so good. You think outside the box and this, that, and t'other."
You don't
But
know what
we
else I've
don't.
been thinking about.
Yeah, we don't think outside the box. We were never in the box. The
Yeah.
box is sealed, and we've been trying to get in the box for years to try and fit in with what we think we need to. But the
Yeah.
box is sealed. There's no room for us. We live out here, and we always have done.
Literally.
And I think like again, that was a moment in my head when I was like I was never actually in the box. I was just clinging on the outside, looking in,
Yeah.
trying to reflect what I thought I needed to.
I mean, it's
And
such a
we,
cliche though, isn't it? Because I mean, everybody says like, don't try and fit in, don't do whatever. But
mm,
seriously, like it is that is literally it. no two people are the same in any way. Me and Luke are massively similar, but then in some things we're completely different. So nobody is exactly the same. Nobody I've ever met is exactly like me. But is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. But then, I don't know, it's just a hard one. You try not to copy what other people do, basically. That's probably it. You try not to copy what other people do, because other people aren't you, and there's a reason that it's a different person and it's not you. If it was you, it'd be happening to you.
Yeah.
And it all works out in the end, no matter what. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. Let's see if there's any more in questions before we wrap up. Or is there anything you want to ask? Anything you want to ask or put out? Or
so did you go through Psychiatry UK? I feel like a lot of people have gone through that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through my pace initially privately. So I paid privately, and then when I saw how much the private medication was going to be, and at the time my doctor was saying he was not taking shared care.
Don't have to.
I was no, they don't have to.
That's mental, isn't it?
They can refuse if they don't feel that they have the ability to prescribe or something. It's mad. But then
that should go for all mental health issues as a whole. That should go for anxiety. That should go for depression, because nobody understands fully depression or anxiety. Not properly, anyway.
Insulin's the one, and this is nothing against anybody that's insulin dependent, but your GP is not qualified to prescribe insulin. No. They have to have the information from a specialist, and then they act as the prescriber based on instruction. So it's the same theory. Yeah. But for ADHD medication, it appears it is totally different.
That's crazy, isn't it? Really good. So did you have like an assessment or anything like privately before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find it different to doing the NHS?
1 minute. Is that back on? Hello. Am I back?
No, why did you ask?
Yeah. So no, it wasn't massively different at all. It wasn't massively different. There were a few things that the Psychiatry UK one picked up on that the original one. So April the 6th, 23 was when I had my first one. And then it was February this year when I had my Psychiatry UK one. And the things that they picked up on made sense, because when I first did my assessment, nobody told me to not take into account any systems, processes, or strategies I've put in my life to fail-safe me from doing things. So things like, do you forget and lose things? So my initial thought was, no, not really. But actually, if I didn't have my wallet, my keys, my phone, and what I needed in
you haven't done that little ritual.
Yeah, if I haven't put it all on the side before work, if my clothes aren't in a place where I know what I'm wearing, all these things that I didn't disregard were systems I put in place. So actually try not doing that for a couple of nights. I tried it and I forgot my work phone, my laptop, because things were not in the place. And my brain can't go, have I got everything? It just goes pattern recognition, A, B, C, D, out the door, gone. Because if I have to deviate outside of it, it doesn't work.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because even little things like that, just randomly thinking about it, when you've just said about having clothes like in the right place or something, I know for a fact if I put my t-shirt in the wrong wardrobe or I put it in the wrong side or something, that is going to bug me all day. It's so little and insignificant, and it's absolutely nothing. It matters not what happens during my day at work, anything. It's really not relevant, but that will bug me all day. So it's weird. I think some people need to know that as well, to be like, it would be some things that you just wouldn't even think of, or wouldn't even, I don't know, maybe I open the fridge and I see an egg's out of date, and that egg is bugging me. So I've got to get rid of it. And then I forgot to. So then all day at work, I'm worrying about that bloody egg in the thing. Why? Because I'll just throw it out when I get back. It's not, but it's all time consuming. It's all.
But it's because you know there's a chance if you let that thought go, you're going to forget to throw it away.
Yeah, and then you're a bad person then.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's mental, isn't it? Absolutely mental. It's good fun.
Indeed.
I can't really see the comments anyway. So how does this work? Can you see all of them?
Yeah. Can you see them all? You should be able to
see anything.
You can't see any comments at the bottom?
No. don't know why. Might be me. I don't know. I'm still getting used to this.
Um, did- 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 uh,
All fun and games.
Mother told her 2 weeks ago that she was diagnosed as a child but did nothing. Do you know what? There's so many people with that. And what I would say is, although you might feel frustrated towards your mum, she didn't tell you because she thought it was the best thing to do based on the knowledge she had. I'm
Yeah.
assuming, but that is such a common theme where
Or even
parents.
a lot of people I know just don't even know how to deal with it or understand it. I know literally whenever I talk to my nan or my dad or something about it, like you've got to sort of start from scratch a little bit and be like, this is how it works. Because I think people get frightened and afraid of what they don't really know or what they don't really understand. I do anyway, I know I do. So
Yeah.
if someone will come to me, I'd probably be the same, but it's because I don't really understand it. And again, we go on about the question sort of thing. You want to know every single answer to everything. So maybe they've got it as well.
Well, realistically, there is more or less guarantee that one, if not both, of our parents have got a neurodiversity.
They say it's really hereditary, don't they? Which is
Yeah,
insane.
but when I look at it, my brother now goes, everything that I like. He had major health anxiety issues when he was younger,
Yeah.
rumination thoughts, all this stuff. I got diagnosed. He was like, "Oh, I don't need to look into that." Looked into it, and now he's just like, "I am riddled." But it's
Yeah.
helped him looking at his children now. So he's not necessarily going to get them diagnosed, but he's aware of it and knowing that the chances are that they have got it.
You can pick
So
up
he
those
can look
signs.
out for the signs and then put things in place to support them. And
Yeah.
that's how it changes. Like, it's totally changed how I approach life. It's totally changed how I do things. I have got rid of so many friends, not because they were bad people, but just because they weren't where I am now.
Yeah.
Like I need to be this version of myself, and I think they want another version of me. So I almost just need to sit in the space I'm occupying now and just find out that for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one. Only you know you, though. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm.
only you know the thoughts that you have and the things that go on or whatever. It's always secondhand information trying to explain it to someone else. So sometimes when you do need to explain it, the conversation is already over because you shouldn't. It's a tough one. You don't always need to because I know 100% with Luke. Whenever I'm having some sort of bad episode from it or whatever, or I don't know, I really can't sleep and someone's bugging me because something's happened at work or whatever, then you'll just know and it'll be like, right, okay, so I left you to it because I know I needed to. But that's what you need sometimes with your friends and family, that they just know when to either not to leave you alone, but
Yeah,
when to step
it's
in, when
that
not to step in.
someone saying to you, "I can see something's happening. I'm not sure what it is. Just know if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
And if you need someone to talk to, I'm here." Like, because
Yeah.
quite often it's just in your own head, and I think
It's not
that's the
always real.
difference. Like whenever you like, the biggest advice I'd give to anybody talking to neurodivergent people is, don't be assuming in your statements.
Yeah.
Ask a question for an answer. Don't make a sweeping statement or judgment, because
Yeah.
I find my hackles go up if someone's suggestive or saying something is